everybody, and welcome to the Watchful I Studio channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Having recently gotten back into Flames of War 4th edition, I had some existing armies that were already painted, and I wanted to be able to start playing some games as I built up my new Soviet force. So I picked up the D-Day British book, took a look at the contents inside and the stuff that I already had painted, and started formulating a list. This video is to show players out there how quickly you can get into Flames of War by picking up a few simple box sets, spending a weekend of assembling and painting some tanks, and having an army ready to go. This army itself could or could not be a competitive list depending on the type of player that you are, but realistically it's a simple army to build and it allows you to expand into other forces. So today we're going to go ahead and look at two formations out of the D-Day British book, the Sherman formation and the Sherman DD formation, and we're going to show you how by buying a handful of box sets you can build a handful of different lists, and by simply adding in one or two boxes in your formation selection can allow you to expand into other formations. So without further ado, let's go right ahead and take a look at the list. First thing I wanted to show you is the organization of the D-Day British force. In the top portion of the book you can see this kind of brownish magenta-ish color showing you all the different types of formations, and below in the gray boxes are all the support options that are available to you. So as a new player, the first thing you want to do is figure out what type of formation that you want to choose, and then from there determine the types of platoons that you're going to put in that formation, and then augment that formation by selecting different support choices. We'll go over how this all works by looking at the first formation, which will be the Sherman DD Armored Squadron. So if you have your book at home, go ahead and turn to page 34 and we'll get started. Okay, looking at the Sherman DD Armored Squadron, you can see on page 34 the formation layout. The boxes in black are the minimum that you must take in order to field a legal formation. So looking at these boxes, you have a headquarters element of a Sherman DD Armored Squadron HQ, and then out of the two boxes you have two Sherman DD Armored Troops. The nice thing about these boxes is it gives you the alphanumeric code for the data card, as well as gives you the page number of where you can find that selection. So looking over at page 35, you can see the Sherman DD Armored Squadron HQ. You have a choice. You can take 3 Shermans or 2 Shermans with a 75mm gun for either 12 or 8 points. Well, the army list we are going to look at, we're going to take 3 Shermans for the 12 points. For the 2 Sherman DD Armored Troops, you have no choice, but you're taking 3 Shermans at 12 points. So those will be 2 troops for a total of 6 Shermans at 24 points. And now the rest of the army selection is really a buffet for you to choose from. The gray boxes listed on page 34 under the squadron are additional troops, platoons, companies, whatever the army designation is for that particular nation. In this case, we can take up to 2 more Sherman DD Armored Troops, a Firefly Armored Troop, or a Sherman DD Armored Troop, a Stuart Recce Patrol, and then Crusader AA Troop. Based on the items that I own, we're going to be taking 2 more Sherman DD Armored Troops. So that's another 6 Shermans for a total of 24 points for those 2 selections. And then we're going to take out of our OR box, the Fireflies or the Shermans, we're going to take the Firefly Armored Troop, 3 of those with a 17-pounder gun for 16 points. So out of all the items that I own, that will fill up our formation selections. And at this point, we're going to go right ahead and choose from our support options. Let's take a look at those. So one of the support options that's available to you is lovingly referred to as the block box support option. And essentially, out of all the formation types that you can choose from, one of your support options can be a black box from the formation selected. So in this case, I chose the Motor Company, and I'm going to pick a motor platoon to add to my force. I have a full-strength motor platoon consisting of 4 Bren gun teams, a Piat anti-tank team, and a 2-inch mortar team. So at this point, let's go right ahead and take a look at what we have in this army. So here we have our HQ selection of 3 Sherman DD tanks mounting the 75mm gun and its respective machine guns. I didn't place the 50 cals on the commander and 2IC commander's tank, mainly because because it blocked the officers. The two HQ tanks with the officers in the cupolas are the plastic tanks, the newer version of the tank. The extra Sherman is one of the older resin bodies, resin turret, and metal components, such as the tracks, main gun, and 50 cal, and the hatch for the cupola. Personally, the plastic ones compared to the older resin one are infinitely better. Much more detail, as you can see on the body of the tank. The machine gun actually has a barrel. The commanders are sculpted very, very well with nice detail, and I even added some of the additional components on the back of the tank. Next up, the platoons. Here is my first troop and second troop, with the first troop being the first three tanks on the left-hand side, second troop being in the back to the right. These are once again are the Sherman 75mm M4 variants, and in this instance, these are all the plastic tanks, and they look really nice, painted up, great details, mold lines, cleaned very easily. I included the regimental markings as well as the Guards Division logo with the Allied star on the front and the troop number on the sides of the turret. These two troops are my compulsory choices. These I have to have. So let's go right ahead and look at 3rd Troop and 4th Troop. What you're seeing is 3rd Troop and 4th Troop, 3 Sherman 75mm tanks again, with the front left-hand side tanks being the plastic Shermans and the back right-hand side being the older resin and metal Shermans. Again, I can't stress enough how amazing the plastics are versus the old resin and metal, and they take a much faster time to clean and assemble, and I don't have to worry about if I drop the hull, it's smashing into little bitty pieces or the turrets bending. Of course, being plastic, you have to worry about maybe the 50 cals breaking off, but I guess that goes with the territory. All of my plastic tanks, the turrets are magnetized, making it easier for transporting. Now let's look at the Firefly troop. This is the Firefly troop, again modeled on the M4 Sherman. These are all the plastic variants, and I decided to put tank commanders in them just because it looked cool. And you'll also notice that the troop markings on them are 1st, 2nd, and 3rd troop, because this was originally modeled off of a Guards Division Army list that could actually add in an additional Firefly, so having 2 Shermans and 2 Fireflies rather than 3 Shermans and a Firefly. But we'll get to that when we get to the Sherman formation here momentarily. You can go right ahead and use these Fireflies in a Firefly troop for the Sherman DD Squadron. Now let's take a look at the motor platoon. This motor platoon is the old metal blister, and at one point it did include M5 half tracks, which without owning the command cards, I'm not sure if that's still an option or not, but it will be nice once those cards come back in stock. I can pick those up and see if I can actually field these in half tracks again. It's a small platoon. I usually use this to dig in near an objective, or if there's an opportunity to make its way up through woods or some type of concealing terrain towards an objective, I'll have them support an advance of the Sherman tanks. They're very brittle, so you have to be very protective of this platoon. Now let's see where we can take this formation from here. So with fielding the headquarters element of 3 Shermans, 4 platoons of 3 Shermans, and a troop of Fireflies along with the motor platoon, that brings this list up to 82 points, leaving us a little short of the standard 100 points that many people play. So what would I add to this army? Well, at this stage, with it being majority tanks, I would continue to fill out the formation using tanks. And in this case, 4 Stuarts would be up on point next for 8 points. I would also pick up the box set for the Daimlers and Dingoes, which is a nice spearhead platoon you can add to the list. This would leave us 8 points shy of 100. So in order to add a little bit more anti-tank power into this army, I would field 2 M10s with 3-inch guns for 8 points. And this would take this list to 100 points. Now, let's take a moment and utilize the same resources that we have available and look at the Sherman Squadron located elsewhere in the book. Knowing what we have to work with, let's take a look at the Sherman Armoured Squadron on page 46 of the D-Day British book. You can see the same formation layout with the black boxes and gray boxes. In this instance, you have a Sherman Armoured Squadron HQ and 2 Sherman Armored Troops, or one of them can be a Stuart Recce Patrol. Based on the items that I own, let's go right ahead and fill the HQ with 4 Sherman 75mm tanks for 16 points. Then, for our 2 compulsory choices, let's take 2 Sherman Armored Troops with 3 Shermans and 1 Firefly in each troop for 17 points each. I also want to continue to fill out this formation by taking the additional Sherman Armored Troops troops with 3 Shermans and a Firefly in each one of those troops for another 17 and 17 points, giving our total troop selections at 68 points and 16 points for the HQ. Let's pull out this squadron and take a look at the miniatures. Representing our HQ element, 4 Sherman 75mm tanks, 2 of them with the tank commanders and the cupolas being the plastic versions, and the additional 2 tanks for the HQ being the older resin metal versions. Again, you'll notice the huge difference in the style, detail, and overall quality of the tanks. Let's assemble the troops. Here is the first troop and second troop respectfully, but this is your compulsory choices that you have to take, giving you those 3 Sherman 75mm tanks and the 1 Firefly. Again, these are from the Guards Division, showing the regimental markings on the front, along with the Guards Division logo. Also on the front, the troop number on the side of the turret, as well as the tank number in the back of the hull. Of course, the Allied star in the front of the tank. Take a look at 3rd Troop and 4th Troop. Looking at 3rd and 4th Troop, you will notice something right off the bat. 3rd Troop is the all plastic versions, and 4th Troop are the older resin and metal version. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but the more I look at these tanks, it is amazing how far these plastics have come compared to the old resin and metal versions, and at the time, I thought those were amazing sculpts. Next up, the motor platoon. This amazing 6-stand motor platoon is part of the formation with the hopes of digging in, holding on to an objective, or maybe getting a little crazy and advancing alongside of the tanks to protect them from infantry assaults. 4 of the 6 stands in this platoon are Bren gun teams, which have a halted rate of fire of 3 and a moving rate of fire of 2, which is some decent firepower when you're going up against other infantry platoons. The Piat is also nice to have in the platoon, just in case you need to assault some tanks. What else can we add to this formation? Well, I wouldn't be doing this video any service if I didn't talk about the same platoons that I added to the DD Sherman Squadron and add them to this squadron as well. With that being said, I would add in 4 Stuarts for 8 points and the Daimler Dingo platoon for 2 points, rounding this formation up to 100 points. Comparing this formation to the other formation, you're down 2 of the M10s with the 3-inch guns, but because the Fireflies are in each of the troops, you gain an additional Firefly, as well as adding an additional Sherman into the HQ slot, which is where the differences are. As a new player, I think it's also important to understand how you would go ahead and pick up this type of army. So let's do some math, take a look at the box sets, total cost, and get this army built and painted. Breaking these 2 formations down into an efficient use of time and money, first thing you're going to want to do is pick up 4 boxes of the Shermans, which is BBX 60, retails for $45 for 5 tanks for a total of $180 US. The other item you want to pick up is BBX 58, which is the Stuart Platoon box set, giving you 4 Stuarts, retailing for $36. BBX 61 is the next box you'll want to pick up for $18, and it gives you the Daimler Dingos. Now, you have an option. Based on the formations that I have designed, you can pick up a plastic sprue of the new British infantry for $9 through the Battlefront website, which is BSO 197, or the other thing you can do is pick up BBX 53, which is the Rifle Company box set, giving you your HQ and 2 troop selections for a British Rifle Company. That could be a better use of your money if you wanted to spend it, because not only can you now field 2 Sherman Armored Rifled Squadrons, but adding in the Rifle Company, you can now field infantry formations with tank support or tanks with infantry support, giving you lots of variety in gameplay. The nice thing about the Sherman box set is it allows you to build all 5 tanks either as Sherman 5s, the 75mm gun variant, or Fireflies. So in this case, your Sherman DD squadron will have 18 tanks, requiring you to buy 4 box sets. And the Sherman squadron has 20 tanks, again requiring you to buy 4 box sets. Of course, as you mix and match the tanks, drop and add a tank here or there, you can also use one of your Sherman 75mm tanks as an observer tank when you decide to field artillery at some point down the line. At this point, you are looking at a total of $243 for a 100-point force if you decide to buy just the sprue of infantry through Battlefront's mail order service, or maybe a local store can order it for you, or $279 retail if you decide to buy the British Rifle Company box set. If you compare this to other game systems in the marketplace, this is still an incredibly low value for getting into a hobby at 100 points for this game system, giving you a lot of tanks to work with, as well as some infantry, and a good core foundation for building out your British forces as you move forward. There are much cheaper ways to get into Flames of War, which we will see in other videos. This is based on an existing force that I already owned and wanted to start playing, but as you can see, I still need to add a few items such as the Stuarts and Daimler Dingoes in order to get this formation up to 100 points. I look forward to adding those, as well as some other additional forces over time, such as maybe the M10s or some artillery. What do you think of these armies? Would you play them? Would you build this force? What do you think of the difference between the plastic and the old resin tanks? I enjoy seeing your comments listed below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, don't forget to ring that bell, and as always, keep a watchful eye on the hobby. Thanks for watching. Take care.